Hello and welcome to another episode of Transcontinental Overload. I'm Stephanie, your host, and I'm very excited to have another Stephanie on the show with me today. I'm talking to the wonderful Steph Fuccio, a fellow podcaster and a true global nomad. Steph was born in the US, but has spent the last 15 years of her life almost exclusively outside of her home country. She's lived in Argentina, Colombia, Taiwan, Japan, Malaysia, Vietnam, China, and the UAE. And since January of this year, she's been based in Berlin, Germany. Little tip for the listeners, don't even try to keep up with her trajectory. We are talking about a lot of countries here, and at times even Steph has trouble keeping it all straight in her mind. Steph went back to the States twice during that time, once for a master's and once for a PhD program, but decided that she was much happier living and working outside of her home country. Steph is very active in the podcast world. Her podcast is called the Geopats Podcast, which is split into a few subsections, including language and language learning, which is one of her main areas of expertise, but also things like books and even one about coffee. She also does lots of other things, which can all be found on her website, www.stephfuccio.com. The link, as ever, is in the show notes. I came across Steph while I was doing research for my own podcast, as her name kept popping up a lot, and so I took a look at her website, and when I read this, I knew I wanted to talk to her. If you've been touched by other cultures, then you know they change you and often become a part of you. Geopads podcast started off as a project that focused on my own culturally blended soul, and then evolved into talking to expats and sometimes immigrants about their unique between-culture lens on the world. That really spoke to me, and I thought, yeah, that's exactly what we need to do, share other people's stories. So it's my great pleasure to have her on here today and hear all about her life as a global nomad. Let's hear Steph's story. Hi, Steph. I'm so excited that you're here with me today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Double Steph time.
Double Steph time, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm also very honored to have you on here today because you're pretty active in the podcast world, and your name popped up so many times when I did research for my own podcast. So yeah, I'm very excited that you're here today.
I'm so flattered. And let me tell you, my online presence is only so big because I have a social media planner that, like, on the hour lets another post go out into the internet.
I'm terrible at social media and all that. So I'm still learning. And so it's, yeah.
There's a lot to learn. Oh yeah. Everybody says, oh, podcasting's so easy. Just grab your phone, start recording and post it up into the cloud. And then as soon as you do that, the first time you learn the 500 other things that you could do to make it better, to attract more people and to do all this stuff. And it's a very slippery slope.
I really want to talk to you about your podcast, but let's start out with who you are. So you've been in South America, in Asia, and now you're in Europe, and you are pretty much in the heart of Europe. You're in Berlin.
I moved to the center of Europe only to be able to not travel around.
I know. So you got there in January thinking, wow, this is my great big adventure in Berlin is starting, and you have all these ideas about what you want to use this time for, and lo and behold, you're locked up.
Yeah, it has been an ironic year.
That must be very very difficult, really. I can't even imagine, because it's when you're an expat and you come to a new place, the only thing that keeps you sane at the beginning really is to go out and explore and just get to know the place. So I can only imagine that that's very hard. But you are a seasoned expat, so
it doesn't matter. It's been a challenge. I tell you what, I have tried to meditate and to do yoga a million times in my life, and this is the only time it's stuck, because I am so restless being at home, and I know you get it because you just said it perfectly. Exploring is the way I get grounded. It's the way I like a place. It's the way I get to know a place. It's the way I get to know a culture. And it was just like, no, not yet. Maybe not for a couple of years. Yeah. So it was really difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people actually, and a lot of expats too, that they are trying to utilize their
Mhm.
knowledge and their tools and all that, but this time
Mhm.
it's different because we are all used to being in this kind of limbo state, and like not knowing and not knowing yet, not knowing a place yet, not knowing how long you'll be
Mhm.
there, whether it's going to work out, and all those kind of things. So we're kind of used to the uncertainty of things, but
Mhm.
I feel it's different this
It's
time.
really different.
And so for myself, a lot of my normal mechanisms that I use if I feel something's getting too much, and the things I normally do don't work. And like you said, so
Right.
all of a sudden you have to
Yeah.
find new things.
Yeah. Go to cafes and drink a lot of coffee. Doesn't work.
Hmm.
Or at least didn't. They just opened them up
Hmm.
again. Go and talk to a group of friends or create
Hmm.
an event or a club or do something together with other people. Nope. The only thing that did transfer over, because we lived right next to Tempelhof, is that I could go walk for a long time. And that's what I did for the first month straight. I was doing like 20,000 steps every
Yeah,
day,
fabulous.
just being outside.
Tell us, how did your expat, your nomadic global existence, how did it start? What made you decide to leave the US?
I am from the US, but I do have immigrant parents. So the first time I was on a plane is when I was 4. And although we basically went to families' like houses and things, it did leave a certain painful awareness that there's other ways to do things. So I was kind of a precocious student because when teachers would say, "This is how things are done," I'd be like, "But not everywhere." And they would be like,
I
"What are you
love it.
talking about, young person?" Yeah.
So where did your parents immigrate from?
They're both from southern Italy. From my dad's from Naples and my mother's from Calabria. Calabria.
Okay,
Yeah,
so well,
southern.
I kind of guessed from your surname. So
Yes.
do you speak any Italian?
Nope.
So did your parents come over and they just didn't speak Italian with you, or?
They were here way before they met each other and had
Mhm.
my siblings and I, and they came over when where they they came over when Italians were the other and
Uh-huh.
when being Italian was the easiest way to be treated badly.
Mhm.
So they wanted their kids, from what I understand, to not deal with any of that. So they
Yeah.
raised us to be as American as possible, but they didn't know a lot of American customs, so they did some quirky stuff in addition to like the Italian stuff. They did some quirky stuff that they thought was American and
Mhm.
wasn't. Like, yeah. And my mom's family, like her parents are from Albania, so she spoke Albanian with them, and my dad spoke, I mean, a Naples dialect, and so I don't know how they even understood each other. To be honest with you, now that I know a little bit about
Yeah.
Italian, I'm like, how did they understand each other, let alone us? I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, but I mean, at least I guess having parents who probably spoke, you heard them speak another language or
Mhm.
languages, that's planted the seed for travel early on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I went abroad a bunch as a child, a few times as a child, and then I got it in my head that after university I was going to go work overseas immediately. But the companies that I wanted to work for did not agree with me. They wanted to wait to be executives in the companies like 10, 20 years in to go work overseas because I considered it a painful moment to go work abroad. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what? So I started doing the oh so not so legal thing of working in hostels and backpacking
Mhm.
and just like
Mhm.
doing some editing gigs and doing anything I could to fund myself while I would just explore. So that's where the European travel was. That's where all of the Central and South American travel was. That was just me either saving up and going or working along the way.
Mhm.
And then I got really sick of visa runs and not having a set because I had all traveler friends and people would come and go too quickly. And I'm like, I would like people to be here more than 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
so that's when I started to teach English. And that was the beginning of me working. And that was, yeah, that was in 2003 and in Taiwan. And then I wanted to switch countries every year because I liked that for a very long
Yeah.
time. And so I lived in a few different countries. Yeah.
Okay. So, what came after Taiwan? Where did you go after that first stint?
Ooh. Taiwan was my first Asian place, and I was not prepared for a mega city, for pollution, for gray buildings. I was used to European,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, outwardly beautiful structures. And so that's when I first went to South America, and I was going to write this amazing book. So I went to Argentina and I rented an apartment, and this is so cliche. And I worked on that book and I never got any of it done. But I was there for 3 or 4 months. It was quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I did that.
No, those are two places I haven't traveled to. I've never been to South America, and I've never been to Asia except for 2 weeks in Bali.
Uh,
So I always love to hear about
a
it.
very, very different region. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Because that's where I ended up going back, because the vast majority of English language teaching is in Asia. So I
Mm-hmm.
ended up doing a CELTA course, so teaching adults
Mm-hmm.
language or teaching them English. And so I did that in Hanoi, Vietnam, which I will always miss but never move back to. And and that's actually where I met my husband. And then we started moving countries a little bit slower. And then we lived in Malaysia and Japan and blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Tell us more, because that's it to someone who hasn't moved as much and experienced that many cultures. It's mind blowing. So when you say you wouldn't want to move back to Vietnam, what is it? What was it about it that what is it that you
Okay.
miss?
I miss the people, the
Mm-hmm.
food. I love the food in northern Vietnam. It's this interesting mix of like it's hard to describe. They've got a French influence. They've got a Chinese influence. They've got like their own kind of special cuisine and tastes and flavors. But northern Vietnam has this beautiful array of flavors, whereas southern Vietnam is closer to Thailand, where they have more of the curries and
Mm-hmm.
the fried stuff, and it's much more like that. But for Hanoi, has a much wider range that includes some of that, but also has some really beautiful, lighter kind of foods. And I love the food and the coffee so much.
Mm-hmm.
And the people were they were just so extroverted and so funny. Like they could be angry at you 1 second for no reason and laughing the next. They could be like overcharging you 10 times and then laughing the next. Like as soon as you say Kong Zulik, I'm not a tourist, they laugh and go, oh, okay, it's really this price. I mean, it's just they were so there were no barriers. They were just like they would be as friendly as you would understand in whatever language you were trying to talk in. And I just found that so inviting. But why I wouldn't go back is just the quality of life. The
Mm-hmm.
pollution's getting worse as time goes on, and as much as it was fun to ride a motorbike without a helmet and see all of the traffic accidents happen around me, I'm a little more risk averse now. So, yeah.
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 But I bet you're glad that you did it when you did it.
Yeah, definitely. It
Yeah.
was such a great place.
You were in China for some time as
3
well,
years.
weren't you?
Yeah, that's the place. Ironically, that's where we moved from on January 1st. So everybody kept congratulating us the first few weeks of January. Oh, you
Oh,
escaped the
you got out.
virus. We did not.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were there for
No.
3 years in Shanghai.
I said in my introduction that you went back to the States a couple of times
Mm-hmm.
for graduate school. So you did a master's, and yeah, tell us about that. So why did you decide to go back to the States to do that?
It was strictly a financial decision. At that point, I was married for a few years, and we had hit career walls where unqualified people with paper degrees were getting the jobs we should have had.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, okay, I guess we have to do that. So we looked at some really amazing Australian universities that we wanted to go to. We got accepted to one that we really wanted to, and then they sent us the bill. And they didn't do, like in the US, they have like graduate assistantships
Mm-hmm.
where as a master's or PhD student, you could be either partially funded or
Mm-hmm.
fully funded if you teach a few intro courses. And they didn't do that in Australia. We had international student fees and we're like, we can't go there. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a straight financial decision to go
Mm-hmm.
back to the US for it. Yep.
And so you came back after how many years away?
Oh, at that point, let's see. because I went back to Vietnam. I went to Vietnam, a brief interlude in Colombia, because that makes sense, and then back to Vietnam. Because I wanted to make sure, I was like, I like Hanoi, but I feel like I need a little more spice, and then I can make a decision. And so I went back after like 3 months. I went back for my second and third year. So I was almost in Vietnam for 3 years. And then we went to, we were in Vietnam, and then it's so bad that I always forget the trajectory where we went.
I think
Japan.
if you look at all the places, I totally get it.
And then we went to Japan. That was a 3-month contract to figure out if we wanted to live there. And the answer was no, but thank you for the job. And then we went to Malaysia, and then we went to the UAE. So I'm thinking it was probably 3, 4, 5 years between the last time I was back. Yeah. That was a long while.
Yep. Well, we're going to talk about reverse culture shock, but let's circle back to that one. I'm going to make a mental note. What was it about Japan that didn't work and that made you not want to stay longer?
Yeah, the first time was hard. The second, third, we actually went back to that same job. This is going to sound really weird, but like accidentally most of the time. We worked there five times total. The first time was intentional, and the other times it just kind of fit between contracts. So the second to fifth time, I loved it. We also were in different cities. Like the first time was in Tokyo, where I don't know if you've seen the YouTube videos of people literally being pushed with the stick into the metro. That's a daily existence. That's not an exaggeration.
That's my biggest nightmare.
It was not good. I got the air knocked out of me every day from people pushing in to be able to get on the metro. And every Thursday, like clockwork, I kid you not, I would cry on the train because I'm like, people shouldn't be like this. We shouldn't be treated like this. We shouldn't let ourselves be treated like this. I'm leaving in 2.5 months, but this is normal. And I was just like, bah! And it's especially shocking because there's such a politeness, such an orderly, such a very looking out for people around you characteristic to Japan. It's not just a stereotype. It's what people are thinking on the inside is a completely different creature as it is in most places, but people are very, very nice to each other, generally speaking. So when you get into the metro station, that's all over. And then you shove, you run, you're like trying to get to your train on time, and then you push and you step on whoever you need to get into that train to get to work on time. And it's just like culture shock within the same block, because it's just like outside everybody's like super nice, and then inside the station it's just crazy. Yeah.
All right, so that we've covered quite a few countries. Let's do a quick fire question round. I'm just going to ask you a question, and you just say the first thing that comes to mind. So, all right. Well, you have quite a lot to choose from. So, what do you miss the most from all the countries that you've lived in? One thing that you miss the most?
Stationery stores. I miss stationery stores in Asia. Any country in Asia, just give me Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia. I'm good. Yeah, I miss stationery stores. I do not approve of stationery in Germany. I'm sorry, people, but no. They're just, the writing instruments are not good. The staplers never work. The folders, they're not secure. They're like confused children made them folders. I don't quite understand them.
That's so interesting. When we lived in California, we stumbled upon this Japanese stationery store, and it was like my kids and I loved it. And it was just outside of the mall, and we would just go just there because it was so special. I still remember it. This is so funny that you're saying.
What was the name of it? Is it Kinokuniya or Daiso's more of a
I think something with an
store.
M. Something with an M, but it was wonderful, and the people in there were so friendly and so lovely.
Yeah.
Question 2.
Yes.
What? So normally this question is, what do you love the most about your new place? But I think that's not fair because you haven't really spent that much time.
Answer. I'm ready.
Oh, you do?
One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, go for it.
Okay. The quality of the food. Especially, I am a grocery store fanatic. And I absolutely love how even the cheapest of anything is still ridiculously good. It feels healthy, fresh, like it just everything's so ridiculously good. The taste is like elevated 20 times from what I'm used to. And I know I come from the land of Francofood, so it's not a high bar, but but still
Yes.
I have been in other countries, you know, that also have pretty decent food regulations and things like that that aren't as freaky, but there's something really really that's being done right with the food here, so I really appreciate that.
So, third question.
That's the
Was there anything that you thought you knew about a country? It's kind of the make me smart question in a kind of different way. Was there anything that you thought you knew about a country, but now you know it's not true at all? Was there anything that really surprised you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get some hate for this one. It covers a few different countries, countries that rely, or countries or places that rely on Confucius principles. And I thought that those, because the information that we receive in the US most of the time about places that are based on Confucian principles is that people really look out for each other. They look out for everyone around them, and it's a very communal society is the phrase that is used over and over and over. We're individualistic, but they're communal, you know, all that kind of thing. What I didn't realize until I lived in a few of these places is that they are incredibly go out of their way to give their lung for anybody, but not everybody. It's anybody that's in their immediate circle, which includes friends, coworkers, classmates, those kinds of things. But you have to be in the circle for them to be protective and really, really helpful. It doesn't mean that people are necessarily mean to each other, but unless you have a connection to them, they're not necessarily going to be very friendly and helpful. And I was not prepared for that because I thought, well, you're supposed to be helping everybody, or just you're supposed to be nice to everybody, or I'm very confused right now because this doesn't fit what I thought I knew about your culture. Yeah, so that was a bit of a shocker.
Interesting. Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, you wouldn't think that.
And I think a lot of cultures work like that. That feels like what a lot of people do. But the way that it's talked about when people have cultural conversations was what set me up for the disconnect. And so I was just like, I feel very lied to.
That's very interesting. Yeah, but it's also, it just shows how you don't really know. Sometimes you think you know things about places and people and cultures, and in fact, even if you speak the language and you learn about it and you read all the books, but you can't really know a country until you've lived there for a while and really immersed yourself.
For sure. And even having just said that, there are people who I'm sure would break that mold in every place that I learned that lesson. And there are the younger generation might be behaving differently because they have more global exposure. And so they might react more like what is considered an international reaction to new people in your life versus you're not in my circle yet kind of thing. So it really, oh gosh, generalizations exist for a reason, stereotypes exist for a reason, but they can also be completely inaccurate a moment later. So
absolutely, and it's so individual, the experience, and it's why we accepting that it is different for everyone. My one of my biggest kind of pet peeves is when people trash talk a country, and and also it's just some countries don't suit us, and some characteristics don't agree with us, and
exactly, it's so hard to recommend places to people for that very reason.
Absolutely.
The travel writer Pico Iyer, who I love to death, he had this, I don't even think it was meant to be a prominent thing in this piece that he wrote ages ago, but he talked about meeting a city. He likes to meet a city. He needs that first day alone with the city to get to know them before he does anything with anyone else. And I was like, oh, meet a city. That's how I feel when I go
love
to
that.
a place.
Yes. And do you feel, because I really feel, and I've written about this before, but I really feel that some cities I really click with, and I just have that kind of, and it's I can't even put my finger on it or anything. It might be a stunningly beautiful place, but it just doesn't give me that feeling. And other places I go to and I'm like, I'm so happy here. This is really the vibe. And it
Yes,
sounds so out there.
it's so true. I feel exactly the same. And oftentimes I can tell within the first few hours, as long as I'm not too distracted by other activities. I can, if I'm
Mhm,
alone with the
mhm,
city, I can tell within
mhm,
the first few hours if we're going to get along and if I'm going
mhm,
to want to eventually move there.
mhm. Did that happen with Berlin as well? Because
It,
did you visit Berlin and feel like, oh, I could imagine living here before you moved?
oh, heck yeah. That's how it actually happened. We had a month-long European vacation, and my husband and I both had dreamed of moving to Spain at some point. So we're like, okay, we're going to spend 3 weeks in different parts of Spain. And then he's a big history buff. So we
Mhm.
were then like, okay, we're going to be somewhere in Germany for a week. And we're like, let's just do Berlin. There's enough historical stuff. It's a big city, so that'll make me happy because I love cities. And when we got to Berlin within the first day or two, we both looked at each other and said, Spain was nice, but I feel like we could have done the whole month in Berlin or in
Oh,
Germany.
easily.
There was a lot more that felt comfortable to us and interesting to us
Mhm.
in Germany than it did in Spain, which it blew us both away because we had literally dreamed about moving to Spain for forever. So yeah, so that's when we started to plan the move to Germany. Right? The
Oh,
very, very fragile move to
oh,
Germany that may not actually be a move. We may
I
just be here for a few months. Who
oh,
knows?
that's just
Yeah,
such a shame. But yeah, I guess it's life. You just never know. You just never know what's around the corner. So so when well, circling back to this is not an elegant transition. I was like,
that's
how can I
fine.
do this? Um, so after a few years living and teaching, mainly in Asia, but also in South America, you came back to the US to do
Mhm.
your master's.
Yeah.
And so that was that the first time that you were spending in the US for an extended period of time
Hmm.
after all
Well,
those years away?
when I first, before I started teaching, when I was doing all of
Mm,
the backpacking stuff, I would come back, save money, and go. So I would be in the
mhm,
US for maybe like 6 months at a time. But outside of that, once I started teaching, like from 2003 on,
mm,
I would say, yeah, those were the two time periods when I was back the
mhm.
most. It was almost 2 years each time. The master's was in Arizona and part of the PhD was in Iowa, which was enough culture shock as it
Wow.
is.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like reverse culture shock and wow, I
And
didn't realize this state
yeah,
existed like this state was like this. Yeah.
but that's the beauty of the States. I mean, I had definitely had a culture shock moving from California to Texas.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And good and bad.
Yeah.
Definitely good and bad. But so when you move back and so the reverse culture shock of going
Mhm.
back to your home country
Yeah.
is, I mean, that's something I think a lot of people just don't even expect or think about. So how was that for you?
It was really hard. I mean, I expected that I had years of pop culture
Mm,
references that I couldn't understand. And
mhm,
I was always a cultural misfit growing up, so I didn't expect people to get me. But
mhm,
there were some things that I was just like, what's happening right now? Like, I thought, because I was teaching freshmen in a university in Arizona, and I thought they were the sportiest people I've ever met. Literally, 90% of them would walk in with the skimpiest tank tops and yoga pants, and I was just like, you guys do sports all the time. Little did I realize that the general casual dress code in the US had gone from like jeans or fun, like funky clothes, way over to just fitness gear, just
mhm,
for walking around, not doing any
mhm,
fitness. And I just felt so
mhm.
stupid. I was like, here I am thinking that like this classroom, I should ask them some fitness questions. They must know the best studios to go to. Just little things like that I missed the transitions while I was gone, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just
But
the
and it's exactly that. It's the little things, because I feel when you move away, you still usually keep in touch with politics and things like that that go on, but it's the little things. I always get thrown by how anglicized German has become
Mhm,
over the last over 20 years now that I haven't lived there, and
mhm,
sometimes it completely throws me what how people sound, what people the language people use and the words, and I just can't connect with that. And it's a real, I'm a trained translator, so for me it's really interesting to see how the and things are, it's acceptable to say certain things now that I would have, had I done that in my translation exam, that would have been a mistake, and now it's not. And I find that really interesting. So you kind of, you felt a little bit out of place, but then you said you were always a little kind of cultural misfit. So it wasn't new, but so then you decided to leave again. Was that after your master's? You where did you go after that?
So I'm debating to tell you the truthful answer or the massaged answer. We'll go for truthful. We went to a country that we had wanted to go for a long time, with a job that we had been courting for most of the time we were in that 2-year graduate program. And within a week of being there, we realized that the school was corrupt, the town was corrupt, and that they weren't ever really going to pay us, do our visas right. And God. The apartment was, they were giving the same apartments to single people as to couples, and you could barely turn around in it. And we just looked at each other and we're like, did we go to grad school for this? This is a step down from what we were doing, not a step up. So it was one of the few times that we actually left a situation.
And where was this?
And that's one of the times that we went back to Japan. We contacted the company and said, do you need anybody right now? And just so happened they were about to start a semester, one of their 3-month programs. And so we went back there, and then we ended up, where did we go after that? Is that when we went to China? That's when we went to China the first time, and we went to Nanjing, China. For the history buffs, they'll know it as Nanking. Okay. But it's just one of those cities of 8 million people in China that very few people are aware of. So populated there.
Those numbers are just mind-blowing, aren't they? I mean, did you at that point speak any Mandarin, or what?
No, that job was incredibly low paying, but we worked our asses off. So I actually didn't have a chance to put my brain anywhere else. Like, we were teaching academic writing, and the course was very intensive. And the last 6 months we were there, we were applying for graduate school. So I was studying for the GRE, the graduate entrance exam, and I was doing I forget what it's called, an action study, I think is what it's called, on my students. So I was compiling all of the stuff with the writing that they were doing into a study to be my sample for the graduate program, blah, 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 blah. So I had zero time to play with language at that point. Yeah, it wasn't until we were there the second time in Shanghai, this most recent time, that I approached Mandarin.
And how was that?
Oh God, I loved it. I'm still super far from fluent, but there is something about having done, broke through with coding in the PhD program that we left, that made it easier for me to approach the Chinese characters, the Hanzi characters. There was something with that connection where I went from looking at the language like, I'll never understand you, to kind of it being inviting and like a puzzle.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it was really, it took me off guard because I had lived in Taiwan, I lived in Nanjing, and I lived in Shanghai. And it was just when we lived like the first few weeks in Shanghai, I noticed I was kind of looking at the script curiously for the first time. And I was like, what just happened? This is bizarre. I still have a long way to go, but yeah.
Do you practice? Do you find the time to keep it up a little bit?
Between the move and the lockdown, my brain has not been there. I have it tentatively scheduled to go back to studying Mandarin Chinese in June. So I'm really hoping, because I'm craving it. There's a certain mental itch. Like, I'm using graded readers now, which are very, like, I think the one I was working on when we moved is maybe 500 or 600 words into a story. So you're just reading all in the characters, and it's really mentally taxing. And this is going to sound weird, in a really good way. And it just, you leave, like, reading a page of that is just like the best mental itch ever. And I miss that. But I just can't, I don't have the brain power for it right now. So
No,
I'm
and I
moving
guess
June 1st.
you're in Germany right now, and I guess there's some German you need to pick up to just
Yeah,
for
yeah. I
um
am taking German classes too. I want to juggle both of them, and the scripts are
Mhm,
so different, and what I want from both of them are so different that I think had it not been for that
mhm,
pesky thing of a global pandemic, I think I could have done it. But
mhm.
I just, yeah.
Yeah, that's not very conducive to language learning, being stuck at home. Okay, so the language and learning languages, so that's obviously one of your big interests, and that leads me to your podcast too,
Mhm.
because it's was that something or that got you into podcasting, or what was it when you first started podcasting, because you've been doing this for a few years now.
3 years. 3 years.
I think that's quite a while in podcast terms. So what made you decide to launch the podcast?
Yeah, I left the PhD program wanting to still do the things I wanted to do,
Mhm,
but I took a job in China that didn't take any of my mental ability, and I was traveling around the country a lot, so I was on planes and trains for the job, and so I had a lot of quote unquote free time, and my brain is on fire on trains and planes. I
mhm,
love traveling, and although it was exhausting, I felt that I wanted something meaty to do, so I started studying Chinese, and I'm not sure how this happened, but I somehow started a YouTube channel about my Chinese language learning and a podcast on expatish stuff at the same
mhm.
time. And I had all this free time and I had like a really good phone. So I was like, I'll just make content everywhere I go. And so I just started recording a lot of stuff that I saw around me, not realizing it was infrequent language that was really hard to learn. And I did all kinds of things that were just completely nonsensical. But I had a lot of fun with the language as I was traveling
Mhm.
around. And what happened is that somebody finally said to me, "Look, you gotta talk to my friend Phil. He's now reading science fiction in Chinese." And I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me? All right, fine. I don't really want to do interviews. It's a lot of work. I need another microphone. This is a pain in the butt." But that doing that interview and the you know how it is doing a solo episode versus a
Mhm.
conversation. It's such a different experience, and I got hooked instantly. So then the
Yeah.
language stuff bled over onto the podcast, and now we have a ridiculous amount of different kinds of shows, language being one of them, podcasting, coffee, because why
Oh,
not?
coffee. I know, I saw that
Yeah.
on there. That's great. And
Yeah,
yeah, so I love that.
and books and all kinds of things. And
Mhm,
yeah, so we've got a lot of variety on the
mhm.
on the podcast.
So, where can people find you? Where's all that? Where can you find all your projects?
Centrally located. StephFuccio.com, STEPHFUCCIO.
So, Steph, I mean, listening to you and all the countries that you've lived in, and I mean, we didn't even have time to cover Colombia or the UAE for that matter, but obviously it's a very nomadic life. So you are a true global nomad. I think, how do you feel this has changed you or shaped you as a person? And do you have any tips for people who want to do that or lead that lifestyle and travel a lot and work? And yeah, any
Yeah.
tips?
How has it shaped me? It's made me less restless because I've been able to do the things I wanted to do, go to the places I wanted to explore, meet people from different areas and ask them silly questions about tiny things that are different between our cultures. And so that's made me more curious, but also less restless because I don't have tons of wondering. I know some of them now. Tips for people, I don't know how to answer that in our current state because part of me feels
Mm,
like I shouldn't even be recommending people to be expats now. I don't know, but if we fast forward
yeah.
to an post vaccine COVID time, then my best bit of advice is to connect with people that have lived in the place you want to live or are living there now and make as many connections as you can online, find out as much as you can, but go before you lose your nerve.
Mhm.
Way too many people do too much research and then talk themselves out of it.
It's
And
so easy to do.
it's so easy
Yes.
to do.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you just really need to make the leap. There's so much you can learn with even just, you know, this, even within the first few weeks of a new place that you can never learn online
Mhm.
or from abroad or from somebody who just went.
Yeah.
I mean, you just need to be in a place a lot of times.
Yeah. That's great advice. And I think, I mean, luckily these days there is a lot of information online, and there are a lot of expat groups or even
Yeah.
local groups. So if you have a
Mhm.
specific interest in something, or a hobby that you want to pursue, then there's so many ways to connect with people before you go. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
great.
and there's so many good expat podcasts now. It's
Yes, it's
wonderful.
lovely. I know. Hooray for podcasts. Love
Hurrah,
it.
podcast.
So I'd like to finish my episodes usually with a little um, personal story or a recipe or something. What do you do? Is there anything you do when you really miss something, whether it's food or a culture? Are there any kind of things that you that help you reconnect with that part of yourself?
Okay, I just started cooking during this lockdown, and
You're not the only one.
I know. I mean, I have heated things up before, but I've
Yeah.
actually used the spices that I bought, and I
Hmm.
use seasoning mixes, and I put stuff in the oven that wasn't sweet,
Hmm.
and you know, that kind of thing. So the thing, the food thing that I bring from quote unquote Asian cultures, Northeast Asian culture specifically, is a gooey egg on top of your noodles. And I will do this with anything. It doesn't matter if I'm making like ramen, Japanese ramen, or I'm making like any like Taiwanese noodle dish or Chinese noodle dish. It doesn't matter. I literally will take a plate of pasta and go, that's just not enough. And I'll make a gooey egg and I will put it on top, and it'll be that extra beautiful sauce.
Hmm.
And I will literally put an egg on top of anything often. And when I see people eating noodles, by the way, and they don't have an egg on top, especially at Asian restaurants, I just walk past. I'm like, I'm not
It's
eating
not
that.
worth it.
This is not right. Or if the
Love
egg's
it.
too cooked and it has
Uh-huh.
no gooey potentialness, I'm like, I don't care how good your noodle is. It's just not the
That's hilarious.
same. Oh, and to be clear, the places where I got that habit, they don't put that gooey egg on everything. I've just taken it from one dish and I just transfer it to everywhere. So I don't want to make it sound like there's a gooey egg on every single Asian dish in the world. That's not true. I just go overboard because I like it. So speaking of noodles, I think, just 2 months into my first Asian place. I was in Tainan, Taiwan, which is just south of Kaohsiung in the central south. Southwest part of Taiwan. And I was in a shopping mall food court, and it was one of the easier places to point and order food. So I point and
Yeah.
ordered this beautiful noodle dish, and I couldn't even get my numbers with the right tone. So I was desperate. So I just pointed to a noodle dish, and it came, and I sat down, and it wasn't crowded, which is not common. And so I was really excited to have my space. I took out my books, I started reading, and this woman from literally across the very big food court came over with chopsticks, with her half egg in her chopsticks, and welcomed me to the city and said that I needed to eat better and put it in my noodles.
Oh my God.
So she basically gave me her gooey egg. And at first I was just like, okay, I don't know what's happening, but I'm at least going to wait till she walks away and turns around before I take it out. And then I'll decide what to do. But I was just like, I don't know if that's a compliment, but I think it was sweet. I mean, she had a smile on her face. She definitely was, you know, being friendly. I just didn't know what to do with somebody
Kind of
putting food in my
unexpected.
food. Yeah, walking across the food court. I'm like, it's
Oh,
one thing if like your friend hands you like a bag of
yeah.
chips, but this is a stranger putting food in my food in a public place. I was a little bit taken aback.
Oh, so did you take it out once she was out of sight, or was she watching you?
She was watching me, so I actually just ate it because I mean the soup was really hot, so I figured if there was
Yeah.
anything bad, it probably got boiled off.
Well, and it sounds like that created, habits from what I
Right?
hear. But it's so funny. I had an experience when I think I was about 7 months pregnant, and we were in Greece.
Mhm.
And we were staying at this very small hotel, and everyone was fussing over me constantly. And I remember lying by the pool it was really hot. And this woman, she came out and she had this plate that was brimming with fried fish, like
Oh
mackerel,
no.
like oily fish. It's like
Mm-hmm.
deep fried. It was literally
Mm-hmm.
dripping, and it was super hot. And
Okay.
she was like, for the baby. And I have a thing with, I'm not a big fan of oily fish
Yeah.
best of time, but being pregnant and hot
Mm-hmm.
and she was there and she was watching me. She was like
Oh
expecting.
no.
And so
Yeah.
my husband was laughing his head off. He was just
You have to eat it now.
he just looked at me. He was like, it's for the baby.
Oh.
And so I had to eat the fish.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And I did. And yeah, that was probably a good preparation for motherhood, because the things you do that you never think you can do or want to do.
Yeah. Food generosity is great, but it comes with a price.
Definitely. Well, Steph, it's been really nice talking to you and comparing notes and yeah.
It's so nice to have these conversations. Yeah. Thank you very much, Steph. This has been a lot of fun.
And let's stay in touch.
Yes.
So that's it from me for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I think you can hear how much I enjoyed talking to Steph. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I'm working on a few more episodes at the moment, including one that was recorded at the beginning of this year and that I still haven't finished editing. But fingers crossed, there will be a few more episodes out over the next few weeks. So stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and also visit my website, transcontinentaloverload.com. It's being redesigned at the moment and will probably look a little bit different from what you're used to, but all that should also be finished within the next few weeks. I told you I'm a technophobe, so these things take me a while. I hope you are all well and haven't lost your mind yet or your sense of humor. It's a very tricky transition period right now, I feel, with lockdown and shelter-in-place orders being lifted in various parts of the world, and nobody really knows how to feel about that. Also, summer is upon us, and that's usually such a busy, chaotic and exciting time of year, and it's so strange because we really can't make plans, or if we do make plans, we're never sure whether it's the right thing, especially when it comes to traveling and moving. And I really feel for all those people who are planning a move and have to make a decision and don't know what to do, and all those people who, just like Steph, have arrived in a new place but can't really go out and explore and get to know their new country. So yeah, I feel for you, and I'm sending a lot of positive thoughts out there. But for now, take care, stay well, and see you next time.